The opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the owner, staff, or management of this radio station.
Let's go, girls. Come on.
From New York City to Los Angeles, Powered Up with Beck and Franklin is giving women of all ages permission to live the life they've always dreamed of. Why live in black and white when you can choose the brilliance of 3D and Technicolor? Each week, Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin and their high-powered guests will be here to cheer you on, to share their challenges, their successes, and what they've learned along the way. It's all about women supporting women. The stories and practical tips on sex, beauty, money, and so much more are designed to help you reconnect to the powerful woman you are. Fabulous knows no limits. Now it's time for you to expand your boundaries. Here are Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin.
Ladies, and Linda Franklin from Los Angeles to New York. Los Angeles this week early instead of New York to Los Angeles, even though I'm a New Yorker at heart.
I'm sorry if I missed something because...
I don't know if we're getting a good feed from Linda, so I'm going to keep talking. We have a great show today. We are going to welcome Deborah Schwartz, and she is the author of a new book called Women on Top. So that's always a good topic for Linda and I to chat about because we are all about women's empowerment and growth and development as we age. Linda, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am now. At the very beginning, you were very staticky. It was like you were on a cell phone, and I was hearing every fourth word. But now we're good.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Nope, I'm mic'd. I'm hardwired. In fact, I can't even I can't even go more than 2 feet with this headset.
Well, so, I guess I'm hardwired too on a landline, but I'm surprised it isn't melting because it's so damn hot here. You could just about pass out. We're not used to this weather in New York. It is just beyond hot.
Oh, well, it's getting into that time of year, where it's just beastly around the country. And, it's interesting, Linda. One of the things that people do to cool down is, have a cold beer, have a glass of wine, have a wine cooler, or, a Long Island lemonade or iced tea. And I got to bring it up because it's so frustrating to me that yet another young actor died. The Glee actor died of a overdose of apparently cocaine or heroin. I think it was heroin. I just think back to like when I was a high school student and they were talking about the dangers of heroin and alcohol, cocaine plus alcohol. I'm so frustrated to have another young actor or person die because of this deadly combination.
Well, frustrated. It's happening all over. It's just, you hear about the celebrities, but, it's a choice. Nobody is putting a gun to their head and making them do it. And I think they just get, involved in it and either, they become addicted to it, and it's very, very hard to pull back. I don't know celebrities, non-celebrities, women, men. I was listening to a show today that was talking about women that are drinking now more than ever and are, walking around with huge problems. And they're talking, it seems to be rampant because I guess people just can't deal with the stress of living in this world.
You're right. I guess the thing that touched me the most about this is, this is a young man, young man, 31, but he was, he came out and talked about his struggles with substance abuse in like 2011 and said that he began, using drugs at 13, and he was in rehab by 19 when his mom and his friends intervened. And, this is just so... I don't get it. I don't understand it. I see these talented young men and women, many of in my life and a whole lot in my, military affiliations that just can't seem to get off the booze. And it's just such a shame.
Well, it is a shame, and it's a horrible thing. And I too know people that have been addicted to drugs, and they it's basically ruined their lives. And it's a day-to-day struggle. Anybody that thinks that that they're cured are usually the ones that fall off the wagon, because it is there is no cure. Once that's part of your life, you've got to go every day and really make a conscious effort not to run back to it. I mean, look at Lindsay Lohan too. Oh, talking about Lindsay Lohan, I just see that Oprah signed her to a $2 million contract to do a reality show on OWN.
On what? On her?
Yes, she's going to do a reality show, Lindsay Lohan, on the OWN network, and so we can watch her go and party and whatever the hell that she's doing to destroy her life. So, holy cow. Ay. I don't know. It's too much too soon. I guess. I go back to the time, when, of Elvis Presley, when he was my idol, and then, he killed himself with drugs, and look at Michael Jackson. I mean, it's just a scourge.
Yeah. God, she's going to do this interview and then this 8-part reality series for, the network. I mean, what's that going to be? I mean, what are we going to teach our young people with her? Drugs are cool, partying's cool, rehab is cool, jail is cool.
God, I hope not, because it certainly is about the least coolest thing you can do, and it's a great way to to end your life. And they think that that's glamorous, or I think that they just get sucked in, and once you're sucked in, it's very hard to remove yourself from that. But this young woman has been in rehab God knows how many times, in front of in the court so many times, and she doesn't seem to get it. And there's nobody in her life that's that's there really to lean on. It looks like, because she just keeps going back for more and more and more.
Yeah, you see her mother, Dana, I think her name is, in the news a lot. And, I look at that little fat kid. I can't even stand to look at her. Honey Boo Boo. I keep seeing those ads for that. I can't stand looking at that kid, because that kid, to me, and I'm sure she's a nice little girl and whatever, but she is like the epitome of everything that is wrong with our country today, because she's an obese child, she's obnoxious, she's disgusting, and people glorify her. I know I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, but the fact of the matter is I see that smell-o-vision that they're doing right now, and the scratch and sniff, and then she farts on TV, and I'm like, when did
nice.
we? Oh, you haven't seen that ad? It's ridiculous.
I mean, talking about dumbing down America, we are so dumbed down now. I don't know where we're going to go from here. I mean, it's really a very, very sad commentary on what people choose to watch on television, because that's reality shows are like, hot. They can't come out with them fast enough. They're just absolutely crazy, but that's what people want to watch. Please, I don't know.
I know.
I don't get it.
It's a 7-year-old beauty pageant. She's a 7-year-old child beauty pageant that's got to weigh 100 pounds. And I just look at her and go, where is she going to be at 16 after they've been done exploiting her? Because, she'll have her, 5 minutes of fame as Honey Boo Boo when she's 7. But, when this kid is 10 or 12 or 15, what is she going to be, 25 years old, going, well, I played Honey Boo Boo?
Well, our show today is going to be about, women on top and women taking power and control over their lives. And when you see things like this and Lohan and a lot of other, I guess, celebs that that we can talk about, it looks like we're going in reverse, because I don't know what's important to women these days. How do we take control? How do we live happy lives? How do we just not do things because we think it's cool or that we're going to be accepted? I mean, it seems like we're going back to what it was in high school, to be with the popular girls.
I I really don't know. I guess, I'm going to go back to Honey Boo Boo because I just can't seem to get off that today. But it's like, what are we creating in women? It's like we're talking about women on top, which you're right is our topic today. And the biggest reality television star right now is some fat white trash kid who's obnoxious and swears and farts, and we're entertained by this. How is that supposed to help us as women, as other kids, turn on this because it's a TLC show? They can turn on and see it. We talked about Bart Simpson years ago being, this terrible role model for kids, and kids were modeling after him for a while until everybody got sick of it. But I look at this kid and go, what does this say about women? And, for the rest of us who fought so hard for equality, for fair treatment, whether it's in the military or in the business world, Linda, you paved great pathways for women on Wall Street. And I just look at this kid and go, are you kidding me? That's my Honey Boo Boo rant.
Again, then they can argue it's television. What you see is not what you really get. It's television. It's supposed to be there to entertain us, not to be taken seriously.
Oh, yes. I know. See kids, the thing is I've got a 7-year-old, I've got a kid that's the same age as Honey Boo Boo, and, the girls do the Honey Boo Boo imitation, and you're right. I mean, I guess I won't take it that seriously, but I'm like, really? That's the most popular thing on TV right now? That's, and Lindsay Lohan getting $2 million for us to watch her, probably fall off the wagon again. I don't know, Linda. I just maybe I need a nap. I don't know. I'm in one of those moods today.
I don't know. It's disheartening, and what we have to do is keep ourselves in our own little bubble and do the things that are important to us and not pay attention to all of that, because it is disheartening. I mean, every time you turn on, let alone the reality shows, but the news, I mean, it just, it keeps getting worse and worse. So you just, I choose not to listen too much because it doesn't do any good, and it just shows you the state that our country is in. So we just have to focus. It sounds selfish, but we have to focus back on ourselves and what the heck we're doing, because the changes have to start with us, not with the world.
Absolutely, absolutely. When we come back from the break, we're going to welcome the author of Women on Top, Deborah Schwartz. We're going to talk about her book and the messages that it contains.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Okay, we will. We're going to teach you how to tell your money where to go. It's Intelligent Investing with Pam Otten on TogiNet. Learn how to be a savvy investor from someone who has your best interest at heart. Pam Otten is a financial advisor who loves to help successful business owners and entrepreneurs understand the mysteries of the investment world, and she's not afraid to share that knowledge. Pam is an unashamed Christian and qualified kingdom advisor, which means she's trained and committed to integrating biblical principles into her financial advice. Pam believes investing isn't rocket science. This is the financial advisor who's in your corner and truly understands and cares about you and helping you achieve your goals. Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. It's Intelligent Investing with Pam Otten on TogiNet. Do you feel like when you watch a cooking show or read a food magazine that the recipes are not practical for a busy family? Do you wish you could have a conversation with someone about the best way to get dinner on the table fast after a long day at work? Are you tired of cooking dinner only to have your family turn up their nose at all of your hard work? Do you want to hear more about healthy living and finding more time to find your passion in life? Well, pull up a chair and visit with Heather Tallman, host of Around the Kitchen Sink, Thursday nights at 10 p.m. here on TogiNet Radio. Like many women, finding balance in life and time to take care of yourself is hard to do. Between managing a career and marriage and children and a busy family schedule, it's hard to maintain a sense of self. And Heather shares how she does it. Check out Heather's website, basilmama.com. Join us for food and a whole lot more on Around the Kitchen Sink with your host, Heather Tallman, Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
When I'm walking past the mirror, stress through the night at a time, and my life ain't worried about what you're feeling.
back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and my opinion does not reflect Linda Franklin's of Honey Boo Boo. I just to that because I'm on my Honey Boo Boo rant this week. But it's really great that we can switch topics and get to something that really, really excites me. There's a new book out called Women on Top, and Linda, you read it this weekend. How was it?
I did. I mean, I did. I once I picked it up, I could not put it down. So I went through 335 pages really quickly, and I liked it. Of course, it was in my bailiwick. I mean, it's New York, Connecticut. It was here on the East Coast. It involved a lot of Wall Street people. It involved trophy wives. It involved a woman that had lost her husband and she had two children, and now she was back dating this Wall Street guy. And I just saw so much of what that I've seen and what I've known, and I can't wait to talk to Deborah about it, because I certainly could relate, and I think a lot of people can.
So it had a ring of truthfulness. The settings, the characters, everything
yes.
flowed for you.
Yes, absolutely, and not only that, it was actually money and power are aphrodisiacs. It's very seductive, and for women to fall into that trap is very easy, and so many do. And it's the choices that we make that define our lives. So basically that was the dilemma. The Kate, who is the heroine in the story, is going through. So let's bring Deborah on. Let her talk about it.
Absolutely.
Hi,
Deborah, are you with us?
Hi.
Hi. Nice to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, you can see my enthusiasm because, as I said, it was very relatable.
Yes, and I really appreciate you reading it, and I'm glad you liked it. I really have gotten great feedback, and I'm enjoying listening to people's comments. It's really fun having written a book, and rather than being a lawyer and hearing what people have to say.
Yes, I'm sure. I just want to. I'll let Sandra jump in, but how much of Deborah's in that story?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote the book as fiction, and I would say that my life inspired the book, but I did want to take it places that were fictional because I felt like I wanted to inspire women. I wanted to provoke women and men and make them think. And so I did have to take it places. The parts that are most relatable to me is the fact that when I was 35, my husband did die of cancer, and I was left with small children, and I am a lawyer, and I have dated the Wall Street type. So parts of it were inspired by my life, and parts of it are pure fiction.
Right. Well, I
want to ask you before you continue. Absolutely. Before you continue on the book, I would like our listeners to get to know you because they don't. Who is Deborah, and what's your background, and what makes you qualified to write this book? All I know is you're an attorney.
I'm happy to tell you that. First of all, I grew up in New York, in Manhattan, and I then, went to college, majored in history, and I went to Columbia and got a master's in history and wrote a thesis about feminism in 18th Century England, and there was only one feminist, Mary Wollstonecraft, so I wrote about one woman. And then I went to law school, and I was a healthcare lawyer for 18 years, and I'm proud of it because I feel like I help people. But several years ago, I stopped being a lawyer. My kids are grown, and I traveled, and then I went to Africa, and I actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, which was amazing because as someone from New York, the only thing I'd ever climbed before are the stairs.
Oh, the subway.
And then I decided to write this book, and I spent a year doing it, and it was really interesting doing that just because I'm a very social person. I like people, and I like talking to people. And when you write, you're very much inside your own head, and you have to spend a lot of time by yourself. So that was interesting. And the day that my editor said, "You're done," I was like, "Oh, my God, thank you." I can go talk to people again. So it's been a great process, I have to say that. And that's why I loved hearing Linda say she liked it, that it was worth all that time inside my head.
Oh, well. But you actually climbed a mountain and sent the Kate, the female piece of that book. She actually did that too. So I said I thought that I didn't know how many similarities, but conquering Mount Kilimanjaro to the highest peak, I would say, is quite the challenge.
It was, and it was for me. Besides the fact that I'd never climbed anything before, the other thing is because I was from New York, I had actually never slept in a tent before, and I was scared to death of that. I was scared of the dark. I was scared of who knows what, and this was what made it such a great challenge. I mean, I had to train, and I did it, and I was not somebody who anybody looked at and thought of as a mountain climber. It was just something I thought I would do. And once I completed it, it's something that's unbelievably empowering.
Oh, God, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's a great feeling.
I have another question about the women in the book. About the woman in the book. I know it's very. If you're in Manhattan and you can see this all around you when you go out, but do you think women all over the country will be able to relate to the different situations that Kate faced?
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree with you that because I've gotten feedback from people who are not in New York, and actually, if you look at Amazon, one woman wrote that I gather she doesn't live in New York, because she said reading the book made her look at life in New York and go, "Oh, my God." So I think people get a real kick out of what goes on. And obviously the women in New York that I've met loved it, because so many of them have said, "Boy, did I do the same thing. Been there, done that." So I think it can relate. I've gotten feedback from men, which has been interesting. I mean, Wall Street men, all kinds of men, and it's been positive. So I think a lot of people can relate to it.
Well, and there's a big voyeuristic aspect about reading. I'm a reader, a huge, voracious reader. And the one thing that I love, and I'll be honest, I haven't read your book. It hasn't arrived in the mail yet out here. But when an author can take can take an environment and put it into a book so that I can experience that lifestyle, that, part of the world, that part of the country, that part of the culture. That's a real gift, and that's a true art. And that's what Linda was talking about, when she said that she related, to the things in New York and her being a native New Yorker. That is really, really powerful writing, Deborah. I mean, and that's really hard to do, because I read a lot, and every once in a while I'll read a book about an area that I've been, and I'm like, that's not really what it's like. And, I think back to a book I read in childhood, one of these first Harlequin romances that were set in Rochester, New York, and they went to visit my hometown of Canandaigua, and they talked about this amazing amusement park. Well, you could stuff it in my back pocket, and it broke that broke that wall. And if you can bring to us as readers, that money, power, greed, New York, sexy, I mean, I'm going to totally dig it. I can't wait till it arrives.
Oh, well, thank you. It's interesting you say that, because, for instance, before I went to Africa to climb the mountain, I read endless books so I could picture myself there. And I love when an author, in other words, I think, books are meant to teach people. They can actually change people's lives. They can inspire people. And I think also, after a hard day of work or whatever, they're a wonderful escape. So no matter where you are, to then read something, you want to be with, rich Wall Street men in New York and escape into that world, and then go, thank goodness I'm not doing that, and then go back to your life and be so grateful to be living your life.
Well,
that's a gift.
Yeah, well, what it gives you is a real introspective into what people think is the most wonderful life in the world, because you're flying on private jets and you're going on these wonderful vacations, and you're getting all this fancy jewelry and homes and apartments and blah blah blah. But now you're seeing the not so pretty side of that.
Exactly. That somehow really what the bottom line is, you really need to judge someone by what's in their heart, what's in their head, and not what's in their wallet. It's really not the money. I mean, it's maybe a fun life, but if you're with the wrong person, it really isn't worth it.
Yeah, and how you want to be your own person. I mean, the thing in the book that got me, this one line about when Kate was out to dinner with Len and his friends, and all the women were just, kind of were the yes women, and Kate had an opinion, and after the, Len, of course, did not like that, and after the dinner he said, "If you ever do that to me again, I will kick that chair right out from under you." And I wanted to punch his face in.
But that's real life.
Yes.
With these kind of men. So, yeah. And they're not all like that. They're wonderful people who work in finance, and do good things with the money. So I'm not condemning an industry. I just think that people should be careful, because it's intoxicating. I think you used that word before, Linda. And you have to just be careful that it's like a drug, and that don't ignore the red flags. Yeah. Well, there's plenty of red flags to be aware of. But again, figuring out what you want out of your life, I think, is the most important piece that that comes out of this book. It's not about the men. It's about you, the woman, and what you want. Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Sandra, you're gonna love it.
I know. I can't wait. I mean, I just, it's totally my kind of book, right up my alley, because I was fascinated by men and women like this when I worked in Beverly Hills. And even though it's a little, I spent 15 years there, even though, it's different geographically, a lot of the personalities types sound like they're the same. Mm-hmm. We are visiting today with Deborah Schwartz. Her book is Women on Top, and we're talking about not only her book, but some of the experiences that she's woven in her book. When we come back from the break, I'm going to ask Deborah how she was different before and after writing this book.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
This is for all you girls about 42. Tossing pennies into the fountain of youth.
It's time to capture the simple piece of the Amish in your own life. Amish Wisdom with Suzanne Woods Fisher. Thursday afternoons at 5, 4 Central. Each week, Suzanne will have conversations with guests about living a life that incorporates principles of the Amish without going Amish. She'll cover the practical, simplicity, slowing down, reducing clutter, putting the brakes on materialism. The historical, how have the Amish survived for 400 years? How can we hold on to what we hold dear? And the spiritual, treasuring important values, honoring the past, and increasing peace of mind. You don't have to become Amish to make personal peace a reality. Amish Wisdom will help all of us live a simpler life. For more information, go to SuzanneWoodsFisher.com. With Amish Wisdom, Suzanne offers us a glimpse into a world of peace, serenity, and total commitment to family and God. This show just might change the way you live your life. It's Amish Wisdom with Suzanne Woods Fisher. Thursday afternoons at 5, 4 Central on TogiNet.com.
Why is religion such a thorny issue in our society and the world? And why has religion often become a source to divide people rather than unite? Frank Talk with Dr. Ejaz is a forum for civil dialogue on religion and wellness on TogiNet Radio. Dr. Ejaz Naqvi invites leaders and activists from all walks of life and faith to engage in a civil discussion on religion and current events. Join us for Frank Talk with Dr. Ejaz every Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on the TogiNet Radio Network.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's some more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
This is for all you girls
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio. For those of you that missed the first half of the show or our other shows, we've got about, 20 of them, 20-hour-long shows that are available on iTunes. We are also available on our show website by the same name, powereduptalkradio.com, or you can reach us on our Texas broadcast station, toginet.com. I always like to announce that it's just amazing to me, girls, that you guys can be in New York. Deborah Schwartz, our author of Women on Top, Linda Franklin, my co-host, our producer and station is located in Texas, and I'm in Los Angeles, so the technology that has to come together, the confluence of events, I think the moon needs to be in the right place, too, for us to get a clean broadcast. For those of you who are hearing static, it's just because we're having some weather in Texas. We are visiting with Deborah Schwartz, Women on Top, and since we are talking about personal power in relation to Deborah's writing and the characters that she's chosen, I would like to pose a question to you, Deborah. How are you different? You know, you're a woman who climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. How are you different before and after completing this novel? Because you said it was a big undertaking and it was something, you're a talker, not necessarily a writer. It's very solitary. How are you different because of this experience?
I think that's a great question, because if you think about the fact that I was a lawyer, and all of a sudden when you put a book out there, you're making yourself vulnerable. In other words, issuing legal opinions is a lot more black and white in some way, and it's very much using your brain rather than your heart. And this book is so much of my heart and my soul, and it's very interesting, because to have people comment and to relate and to have people send me, on the website, people can send me emails, complete strangers, and to feel like I'm reaching people I never would have reached before and what they feel by the book, it's just wonderful. And I hate to say it, I'm so happy I left the law. And writing the book was, similarly empowering as climbing the mountain, because I've met so many people who have said to me, I have a book in me, and I've had it for, 4 years, 8 years, and I'm dying to write it. How did you do it? And I think a lot of people feel that they have a story, and I felt that way, and I felt like I had to. I was compelled. I loved doing it, and it happened. Whether the muse was there, whatever it was, I did it. I'm thrilled I did it, and it feels like climbing the mountain. It's the same kind of accomplishment for me.
Well, now, did you intentionally... I'm sorry. Go ahead, Linda.
No, go ahead. You do.
Oh, yeah, I was just curious. Did you intentionally weave in the messages in your book? Because you have messages that talk about vulnerability, about relationships, recovery, moving on, things like that. Were those intentional, or did they just come naturally through your writing process?
I think it's both. I think it's a good question. I think both. I think that's why I wrote the book, is that at some point, I think I've never been more content and more feel better about myself. And I think that allows you to look back and go, wow, so what was that all about? You begin to learn the messages. Some people I don't think ever do, but I feel like I've learned so much, and you kind of reach the mountaintop and say, okay, what was that climb up here all about, getting to this point in life? And that's what I tried to put in the book. Because I want other women who can be really hard. My husband died, and it was devastating. And I think people go through divorce, whether it's death, divorce, or whatever happens, if they lose their job, whatever happens in their life that takes the rug out from under them. It's hard, and they need to take the steps. And in any way that my book can inspire them to do that, I'd be thrilled.
Well, I like the way you wrote the book, because sometimes women are just too wordy, they're too flowery, it takes forever to get the point across. But you didn't dilly-dally. This is what's happening, and then it happened, and then you were on to the next. You didn't, draw it out, and I guess that's the Wall Street in me. I like.
And you know what, Linda? That's the lawyer in me.
Yeah, so I enjoyed that I didn't have to skip pages of stuff that I wasn't interested about to see how that particular section ended. So that was good for me. But I must say, so here we have this woman in the book, and she had lost her husband. She was raising these two children. She was working hard, and then all of a sudden the guy comes into her life, and he certainly wasn't a Prince Charming, but he was rich. He was powerful. He and he didn't treat her horribly. So, and obviously, there was a big attraction there. And it went through years. What is it? I don't know how long the relationship was.
I think 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
But then she. She's the one that kind of ended it. Because
it was a mess at the end. But I think that you're bringing up a good point. Is that, in other words, it would be too easy to write a book about the guy is 6 feet, stunning, looks like a movie star. He's a billionaire, and she falls for him. This is more like real life. He wasn't stunning. He wasn't perfect, and yet she falls for it. And so life is more complicated like that. And that's what I tried to do in this book, is not make it some, romance novel where it's all very obvious. Because life doesn't work that way, and so the book doesn't work that way. And it's so much more complicated, and the decisions people have to make are so much harder than a simple romance novel.
Yes, absolutely. Life is not easy on any level, but when something like that walks into your life, and something like that doesn't walk into every woman's life, it's something of that magnitude. But on some level, there's I guess there's Len and Kate in every relationship. So and a lot of women, if that's the easy road, maybe women think that if someone is going to take care of them, that's the easy road. But you have to. I mean, there's no free. I learned this on Wall Street a gazillion years ago. There's no free lunches, and everything has a price.
Right, and I also think, it's interesting, even if women are very strong at work or other realms of their life, for some reason they compromise themselves with love and with men, and they get very vulnerable. And there's so much in our culture about women in their 30s. You better be married, you better have children, and there's so much pressure to nail the man, and it's so much more important that women feel good about themselves and let a man feel thrilled to be with them rather than a woman desperate to have the man. They should have their own identity and their own sense of power. And I think that would provide a sense of self-reliance.
Well, a warning sign, I would think, for any woman is when a man wants to knock that out of you.
Absolutely.
So that that's when
right.
the red flags go up, and you say, "Oh my God, this is just the tip of the iceberg. If he wants me to just do the party line, then what else is down the road?" But to recognize the signs is very important.
That's right.
Now, I'm going to ask you girls, what are the signs? Because, a lot of times, especially when men are sophisticated and successful and educated and charming, that stuff creeps up on you, because you're kind of blown away by, their good looks, their money, their charm, all this stuff. How do you know? What are some of the red flags of somebody chipping away at your self-esteem or knocking you down? Because it's not always obvious.
It's funny because I did try and capture that in the book, that, whether it's, as Linda was saying, a desire to, you don't have to work, you can stay home, I have the money, you lose your sense of identity, or if it's criticism or controlling, like at dinner, you're not allowed to speak up, you're not allowed to have a say in certain matters. I'm in control of our decision-making process. It's amazing that women who can go to work and be incredibly accomplish will then go home and allow a man to, I captured this in the book where he said, I want to be in control 80% of the time. How does a woman allow that? And it's real. It's something that's imposed on them, and some women say, I'll take that bargain with the devil.
And San, I think another thing that you have to be careful with a man is if he doesn't like your friends.
Good point.
That was in the book, but very, very real. If he doesn't like the clothes that you're wearing, doesn't like, just tries to pull you apart, tries to make you feel small so he can feel bigger.
Exactly.
And that's,
really how a man makes you feel about yourself is so important. In other words, he's supposed to be your friend, too, not just taking you on private jets.
It's funny you guys talk about this because, I dated a guy recently who the first conversation we had, and, I really liked this guy, but he said to me, I'm used to being the smart one. And, this huge red flag went up to me, and I thought, what an odd thing to say to somebody on a date. And, I chewed on that. I still chew on that months later, and it obviously didn't work out. But, that to me, I should have listened to it. I should have jumped off the ship then.
Well, I don't know if that means he has been dating only women who are not smart. He doesn't think women are smart. I'm not sure what he's trying to say, but it doesn't sound good.
Right.
Well, now that you've written this great book, what's next on the agenda? Are you going to do? Are you going to coach women? Are you planning another book, or what are you going to be doing now?
What's wonderful, Linda, is one of the most frequent comments was they hated to finish the book. Please write a sequel. And that's really something that's been on my mind because I have ideas of what I would love to do.
Great.
So, working on promoting the book is a lot of work, but I already am thinking, because people have actually written to me what they want in the next book, what they want to happen to Kate. So,
girls, I hate to cut you off. I've got to take us to commercial break. We are visiting with Deborah Schwartz today. Her book is Women on Top. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what is coming up next for Miss Schwartz. We're going to talk about some more life lessons that have come through this book that can empower our listeners and empower ourselves.
We've got lots more Powered Up with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin after these messages.
Do you ever feel like you're the invisible woman? Too polite to be political, too nice to be real, tame even though you really want to be unleashed? Like you're living in a fairy tale without the happy ending? Well, Cinderella has left the ball, and it's time to wake up and break up with our own self-imposed glass slippers and ceilings. Welcome to Le Chic Speak, the polite woman's guide to self-expression, with your host, Jen Duchenne. Le Chic Speak is the Woohoo Radio Network's resident radio show dedicated to helping women turn on their power and turn up the volume of their voices so you can be seen, heard, appreciated, and celebrated. Join us on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for your weekly dose of Le Chic Speak with your host, Jen Duchenne, only here on the Woohoo Radio Network.
Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Be here for Living Inspired with Tricia Goyer, Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com. Tricia will dig deep into topics that matter most to women, inspiring women to make a change in their own lives and to make a difference in the world, and maybe even deep within their own hearts. Tricia is a wife, mom, speaker, family expert, and author of 24 books. For more information on Tricia and Living Inspired, go to her website, TriciaGoyer.com. That's TriciaGoyer.com. Trisha's vision is to be the voice of hope and possibility for women of all ages. Her intention is to serve ordinary women by encouraging extraordinary things with God's help. Trisha expresses real life, real hope for real women. Is there more living for you to do? Yes. Start living inspired. Living Inspired with Trisha Goyer. Thursday afternoons at 4, 3 p.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
We're back with Sandra Beck and Linda Franklin. Here's more Powered Up with Beck and Franklin.
Hey, ladies, this is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Linda Franklin, and this is Powered Up Talk Radio, and our guest is Deborah Schwartz today. She wrote a book called Women on Top. Deborah, where can we find your book?
My book is on Amazon. It's in Kindle form and paperback, and you can get it on Amazon, and you can read all the great comments. It's been so much fun to read.
That's awesome. I do. I love to read people's comments, except sometimes in a book like this, they could be spoilers. You know, they can tip you off to what's going to happen in the book. And so, you know, I've got mixed reviews on reading the reviews. What about you, Linda?
To be honest with you, I've been so busy reading the book, I haven't been to Amazon, but I will, and I will definitely comment on it. There's the title of the book because of the Kilimanjaro Woman on Top, or actually Woman on Top of Men.
It's woman. It's actually woman.
Yeah, woman. Yeah. Was
Singular.
Was it because of the mountain climb, or was it because?
You know, it's such a good question. It's so funny because when I tell women the title of the book is Woman on Top, women are very interested, and they go, boy, that's a double entendre. How very interesting. And they get it. I climbed a mountain. It has sexual connotations. When I tell men that's the title of the book, their eyes light up, and they only have one idea.
Yes.
So it's been interesting. I actually did it for several reasons. One is that in our world, you have, for instance, on Amazon, you have very little space, and you want a great title, and you want a great cover, and you want to capture people in every way, and that's what I tried to do.
Well,
what do you think was the hardest? Oh, go ahead, Linda.
No, I'm just saying it's been fun. You if you have another question, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. A lot of people talk about, writing a book and dreaming about having a book and finishing it. I want to know, what was her biggest challenge in writing her book?
Oh, boy. You know what? It's interesting because you're trying to write a book, and, I consider myself an intelligent person, and when you're writing it, you're not Hemingway. So I think the biggest challenge was, where do you set the bar? What is your book? Is it, how much should you write it for 10 years and try and make it better and better? And I finally read a quote where somebody once said that a work of art is never finished. It's simply put aside. And at some point you say, I could fix this book for the next 10 years, but I'm stopping now. And I think that was the hardest thing, is when do you stop writing? Because what happens is, the book is 70,000 words. So you write that, and then you go back and you fix each word, and then you do it again and again. And eventually you say, okay, I'm done.
No, well, to say that you're done is very productive, because I wrote a book, and it only took me 9 months, and that was as much as I could handle of it. But I think they keep on rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, because it's the fear of actually birthing that baby into the world and the comments that you're going to get back.
That's exactly it's like when you're done, you've given birth again. I gave birth to a book. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful baby, and I wish you all the luck with it, and that there'll be another one coming along.
I hope so. Thank you so much for having me.
It was our pleasure.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.
Yeah, isn't that, I mean, I'm always interested, Linda, when, people talk about writing a book, you've written a book, I've written books, and, it's always such a big experience. Did you change anything before and after writing The Real Cougar Woman?
Did I change it after it was
No,
published?
change.
No.
Did you change? You personally.
Oh,
Like
did
I've
I
changed a
change?
lot with each of the books that I've written. I've changed exponentially because there's so much exploration for me that has to happen before I can write.
Well, I've changed because my book is what, 4 years old now, and so yeah, I've changed a lot in 4 years. I don't know if it was a result of the book, but it's a journey, and it's a journey that we're all on until we take our last breath. So it's just ongoing. But it's where you are at the time that you're writing the book. And again, my book was advice for women too. It's a lot of my own story. It's not a novel because I don't even know if I could write a novel, but it was stuff that I was interested in, and I figured if I was interested in it, maybe other women would be interested in it too. And so I think you put so much of yourself in a book, whether it's a novel or it's nonfiction. It's it's you, and it's cathartic.
Absolutely. That's what I was getting at. I was listening to Deborah talk about her story, and, it's like when you write, you can't help but interweave your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your experiences, directly into whatever you're doing. And as a result, you kind of examine your own beliefs, philosophies, they just get woven in. And I think,
Yes.
Women on Top is so powerful because it does have those overriding messages.
Yeah, well, it's something on some degree that a lot of women go through. It's not just, the New York woman. It's just because, every relationship is different, and there's a little sprinkling of all of that in lots of relationships, whether you want to believe it or not. So it's just, where you are at a certain time in your life, and what you think you want for yourself. And then, as I said, it's a journey. Every year, every decade, you change, and this woman changed a lot in the book, as we all do. And so it's just, that's what our life is. It's a journey, and hopefully we learn from it, because I think that's what we're here to do, is to learn. Otherwise, what would this trip of our lifetime be?
Right. Well, and I love, we learn through experiences that we have, but also experiences we read about. I was thinking a lot about, when you guys were talking about kind of power, money, and greed, and, that's relative. Women are attracted to power. Women are attracted to money. How could we not? It's part of our nature, to want and desire things in life. And, what is power? In this case, you're talking about Uber people. They have their own plane, things like that most people will never even come into contact with. But it's relative to women everywhere because, there's power, aphrodisiacs in the military. There's power in, policemen, and power in doctors and lawyers, and they're everywhere around the country. So I think there's something, even though this is set in New York, I think some of the themes that you talked about can relate to every woman.
Yeah, and women, whether they want to believe it or not, no matter how powerful the woman is, it's nice to know that there's a man around to take care of you. But to what degree does that care entail?
Right.
How much
Absolutely.
of yourself do you have to give up to have that feeling of feeling safe? So that these are questions every woman's got to ask herself, because it really determines the person that you're going to be with, and the happiness of your relationship. So
absolutely,
listen, I'm no genius. I'm not a relationship expert, that's for sure.
Yeah, but you've had a successful long-term relationship, a successful long-term marriage. You found out what worked for you. I'm still floundering around there. And I will tell you, when you're out and you're 40 and you're dating and you meet people, certain things that attract me now repelled me when I was in my 20s and dating. I think of this one date. I had one date in my 20s where the guy was like, well, I want to settle down and have a family, and I want my wife to cook for me and all this stuff. And Linda, you could hear me screaming 20 years into the future, like, oh, I don't want that for my life. If somebody said that right now, that one of the things I miss most about being married is having dinner with somebody, I'd be like, oh, me too.
Yeah. Well,
Very
that's
different.
what life does. It teaches you, and our wants change so much. I mean, I bet you if you did it at the start of every decade of really what you wanted, in your life, from your life, it changes all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
And again, that's a good thing.
It's a great thing. In my 20s, I wanted adventure. I wanted to see the world, and I did, and experience, different jobs and different things. And then, in my 30s, I really wanted to, build a house, raise a family, do those things. And I guess I didn't really think about the fourth decade of my life of what that's going to bring. I'm still figuring it out, but I know I'm very different than what I wanted in my 20s and my 30s. And, I'm still trying to figure out what I want in my 40s. So I better hurry up because I'm running out of time.
No. It's not a hurry up thing. I mean, if you don't do it, it'll get done. If not now, somewhere in the future, but it'll get done. So you just have to. It's just evaluating and being honest with yourself and not running around crazy, so that you have some time to actually feel your feelings. Because so many people are just, they're running so fast that they don't make time to spend time with themselves to figure things out. And I for one, I love spending time with myself. I guess I always have, but as I get older, I love it even more. I like the quiet. Mm-hmm. I love to be able to read a book. I love to be able to just to be alone with my own thoughts. So it works for me. I'm running around on a wheel. It doesn't work for me because I need to get off that wheel because it's too much. So I have to come back to my solitude again.
Well, I think you're right because, running around, a lot of times we just get to the wrong place faster. That's all. We just get to the wrong place faster. And maybe if we had slowed down and thought about things, we might have made some course corrections along the way.
Yeah. Just attention, that's all.
Yeah, and you have to actually pay attention, which I always think is really funny. It's like I have to remind myself, hey, San, slow down. My mom used to say things like, and we're 30 seconds to the end of the show, but you don't have to live your life in the next 30 seconds, but I got to close the show in the next 30 seconds.
Right. Just be conscious, that's all.
That's it. All right. Well, my guest today has been Deborah Schwartz of Women on Top. You can find it on Amazon. And I have one of the best co-hosts in the world, Linda Franklin. And we thank you for listening today.
We're so glad you joined us for Powered Up with Beck and Franklin. Sandra Beck, Los Angeles-based single mother and technology company owner, knows what it's like to be fit, funny, and fantastic in your 40s. Linda Franklin, a New Yorker with a successful